My name is Kelly Rae LeGault, and I was in the short film called Painkiller, directed by Jeremiah Kipp and written by Jerry Janda Jr. It's our first time screening at New York City Horror Film Festival, and it's been just wonderful so far. I've been so pleased with the turnout and the accessibility of the festival. It's rare when something can feel large enough to bring great talent and a wide variety of work, but it's small enough you can speak to everyone in the room as well. So I became involved in Painkiller by way of another production called Baggage, and it was a short horror film written by Rob Dimension, and Jeremiah Kipp directed it. And it's kind of funny because if any of us were not involved in Baggage, Painkiller would not have happened, because Jerry, by some fluke, he got to have a walk-on role as the boss in Baggage, and I was a last-minute bartender replacement. Jeremiah had sent me an email the day before and said, "Kelly, can you play a hip bartender in New Jersey on Sunday morning?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." So through that, I got to meet Jeffrey Scott Gould, who was the director of photography. I got to meet Rob Dimension and work with him for the first time. And Jerry, while we didn't film on the same day, we were involved. And Rob Dimension really encouraged Jerry to move forward and write this script that had been kind of simmering in his mind. So we all say, if there wasn't Baggage, there would not be Painkiller. It all brought the team together that day. So the short film Painkiller explores various themes: codependency, addiction, and just the addictions we all face. It can be to a person, to a substance, to a particular habit. And my character in the film was the woman, and I had a fiance in the film. We both were developing a radical form of pain management. Inherently, it was an organism that would be given to people suffering from chronic pain and illness, and it was designed to feed off of the pain and emit pleasure or euphoria. As things go in scientific experiments, something went awry, and my character becomes addicted to pain. She starts to die if pain is not administered to her. I'm hurting myself in the film. My fiance hurts me. We call in outside sources, mysterious outside sources, to hurt me, and it just becomes very, very twisted, which is the mind of Jerry Janda, and Jeremiah Kipp always describes it as, Fight Club meets body horror in the style of David Cronenberg. So for me, going into the film, what I wanted to do was create a character not unlike myself, but more meek and more conservative. And styling-wise, we brought in a wig to make me look very different. And the way I always looked at her in the film was her fiance is becoming so engrossed in this research, he's pulling away from their own relationship, and she's trying whatever she can to become the center of his world again. So she offers herself up as the guinea pig for this experiment, not knowing what's going to happen. Although she trusts him inherently, there's no real, guarantee that it's going to work and how it's going to pan out. But throughout this, I never wanted to lose her humanity, even though she's degrading and becoming more and more of a creature than a human. I wanted you to still feel sorry for her. And for me, that was just finding those places of loneliness, hopelessness, and that comes from being removed from my family for years and years. I've been living in New York alone longer than I have been with a roommate or other people. And while I have a very close group of friends, family is very important, and you feel like you're kind of removed from the greatest love that you know. And it's also quite easy to feel hopeless and scared when you are on a concrete floor, surrounded by garbage, beat up. I remember the first time I looked at myself in the mirror, in the wig and the makeup, I started to cry because I didn't even recognize myself. And that was my goal for this. I wanted to be unrecognizable entirely, from appearance to character. And the first scene we shot actually was the end of the film, where she's in the padded room and I'm at my most intense. So it was kind of a funny thing to say, "Hello everybody, nice to see you and let's get going." And it's on a concrete floor for 7 hours, shaking and crying. You're thrown into it, and I worked backwards from then. It took about 6 or 7 days to shoot, and it was all done in Long Branch, New Jersey. It was a wonderful, wonderful project for me. Jeremiah Kipp is the reason I'm involved in anything. He's the reason I've got to meet all these wonderful people. He's like the kid on the playground that said hello, and now I get to play with all of his friends, you know? He's wonderful to work with. We're always so in sync with our own ideas. And from the beginning, if I take a character from him, we're always discussing it and talking about the lengths to which we would go, the lengths to which I would feel comfortable, and he always keeps me safe on set. So there were a couple of scenes in the film that get intense, but he made sure I was okay, and we finished going through it strong. So he's always in my corner, and I'm always in his. So we work really well together. And I'm proud to say I've worked with him many times, and I will collaborate with him whenever he asks me. I think Painkiller has been receiving just interesting feedback from all over the place. I never thought people would connect to it in the way that they do. They don't look at it just as like a horror piece or a body horror addiction piece. They look at it and they see something in themselves, and they can relate it to someone they know that's going through chronic pain or addiction, and they will come up to us at the end and say, that I really related to that. I went through, a surgery, and I got addicted to something for a while. It's really interesting when you can take that, just the level of storytelling, and affect people. I think that's what we're all after. And for the film festival circuit itself, we screened at Horror Hound in Columbus, Ohio, and we won Best Short there. So we had a packed screening as well. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to go to most screenings because they've been out of state, and it's a little harder to travel, which is wonderful being here because I've come every day of the weekend. So it's been so accessible, and we've got lots of compliments screening at the New York City Horror Film Festival, and I'm just glad people are relating to it the way they are.